Hey, everybody. Yeah, okay. My mic's being heard, I think. Cool. I had to check for a second. I was like, I think my mic's on. I don't know. Hey, everybody. It's your boy Pixcelation. And tonight we are here with, I am proud to say, one of the founding members of Pixcelation as a concept. Bannister Chaava, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, no. So to elaborate, for anybody who's not familiar, to elaborate, Pixelation was not always a solo project. It was once upon a time. It was a group endeavor, led by myself and with Bannister here. We had a couple of other people. We all were it was a news outlet basically, and the PixcelCast is actually partially your baby too. I mean, in some way, in some capacity. Like
A little bit.
in the beginning, the conceptualization phases, you were like, "Hey, let's do a podcast." I was like, "Okay, let's call it the Pixelcast." And we did I think the first episode we did was, oh god, I think I recently went back and listened to it, and like not really anything against any of us, but it was really bad. We were all kind of babies, like navigating the waters of entertainment, and I was like, man, the audio quality, but I think it was like our sequel's worth it or something like that. Video game sequel's worth it or some shit, and I was like, I get nostalgia for it, but I'm like. I'm glad to say that in the 10 years, basically 10 years since we did that, I've gotten a lot better, I think. But
Yeah.
I think it can be said for both of us because you have evolved, you have is that the word? Dove into the world of music completely. I believe you still do like writing and stuff, or you mostly do music now.
Sort of. I still write poetry, and I'm technically an English major, but most of what I do is music.
Okay, cool. And we'll get into that a little bit later too. But yeah. So first things first. I usually the last couple of episodes I have started things off with a little bit of a question, and that is how have you been this past year with COVID and the quarantine and all that? Like, how have you handled that?
Ooh. It's been rocky. It's been not perfect, but it's well, I've been doing as well as I can.
You released two albums, right, during 2020?
Yes, during 2020 I released 2 albums, and this year I don't think I've released an album yet, but I put out some songs here.
Okay. Yeah, I before the like earlier today I was browsing your Spotify music, and I gotta say I was vibing like hardcore. I was like, I knew I would because all of your music for Innermind Legacy, and we'll get to that in a second, but all your music for Innermind Legacy and stuff like that, like it was just like nonstop fire, and it was like the fact that you have basically completely dove into that now. I gotta find a different word for that. It makes a lot of sense to me because you just have that talent. Okay, so we got one person in chat asking for the link to your music. So if you want to go ahead and put that in chat, you're more than welcome to.
Sure. Okay.
Your Bandcamp or the
chat.
But yeah, no. So yeah. But so you put out 2 albums in quarantine. Did you have you gotten it yet, or are you still safe?
Oh, I am 2 days away from my second shot.
Nice. Okay. And you never got COVID though?
Pretty good. I have never gotten it.
Nice. Same here. I'm thankful because it was one of those things where I I was kind of towards the end of 2020. I was kind of petty about it. Like I was like, look, we are at the end of 2020, or in the beginning of 2021. If I get it now after all this time of being able to dodge it, I'm gonna be really pissed. So it's kind of one of those things where I was like, it's just for me, it was like a pride thing. Like, okay, I have to make it to the end of the pandemic without getting this, just to say that I did it. And thankfully, so far so good. I'm fully vaccinated now. Yesterday was the 2-week mark So now I'm fully protected. So I'm like, Golden Corral, here I come.
Oh God, Golden Corral.
Even that's a risk. Even with fully vaccination, that's a risk. But the what have you missed most about what is one thing that you did before pandemic that you really miss?
I am not a person who likes to go out a lot, but I do like seeing people's faces, and
Yeah.
I missed just seeing people's faces, and I look forward to to that being normal again.
Oh shit, Hyperdev, you got your own. Oh yeah, that's right. He recently hit affiliate, so he got his emotes. Nice.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
Congratulations, man. While we're doing that, hold on, let me see. Go into my little control panel here, and I'm just gonna spam my own emotes. Anyway,
Hey, wait a minute.
you show me yours, I'll show you mine. But the no, yeah. So one thing that so what is one thing that you did before pandemic that you cannot believe that you did that you would never do after that?
The distance between people, standing or sitting down as close as I was sitting next to people. I
Right.
do not miss that, and I look forward to the norm being people staying far away from me.
Right. Well, for me, it's high fives and handshakes.
High fives?
High fives and handshakes. I'm gonna do high fives, but I cannot promise you that I'll do handshakes. And the reason is just because at least not for a while. I may eventually get back to it, but for a while I'm gonna be really reluctant to do that whole that you gotta like touch someone's complete hand. It's like, no, God.
Fair. That's fair.
Did you hear news? And I don't know how to respond to this, but today they announced that if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask indoors or outdoors. And I'm like, I'm gonna wear a mask.
I mean, it's inevitable, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was gonna be a day when that was the thing that became that happened, but I'm not sure how to respond because it just happened all of a sudden. Like there was no lead up, there's no build up. Like I think only like 40% of Americans are vaccinated, so it's kind of like, is this the right time for this? I hope so, but I don't know. I'm going to a con in 3 weeks.
Oh jeez.
I'm planning on wearing a mask, but I'm like, hey, you're here for a good time, not a long one. So, but anyway, so let's get off of that and get into the actual questions. For those in the chat who don't know you, let's start with a rather simple question, and that is, who, in your own words, who is Bannister Chaava?
Oh boy.
If you couldn't tell, I was being facetious by simple.
I guess I'm a musician first. I write and perform music. I guess I'm a singer-songwriter and a producer. Just because, I have to produce my own music. But yeah, that's basically what I do. Is I write music and I play music and I produce music.
Right. Yeah, and like I said before, like you're damn good at it too. The and I don't mean to like, kiss ass or anything. I genuinely mean it. Like, going into like kind of the next question is it's more of a comment, and it's just where we met, and that was I think it was the Voice Acting Alliance forums.
Yes, yes it was.
You went by your username was just Chaava. It was just simple.
It was actually one of my older names. It was something Boy Pooey. I think it was B-Boy Pooey.
Right, yeah. That was also yeah. And I think it was 2010, somewhere around there. I was a baby content creator making the audio drama of I Am the Darkness way back when. And you were like, "Oh yeah, I'll make music for you. Yeah, sure. Here's a bunch of free music." And I got like spoiled. And I was like, whenever the time came for me to have to pay for music, I was like, oh, I can't do this. I don't have any money.
Yeah.
So thanks, man. But
I hit that exact same wall when I was trying to do audio drama stuff, and I just was like, I can't expect people to just be here for free. So.
Right. Well, now I've gotten to the point where I'd just rather not do something if I can't pay somebody, because I know what it's like to kind of grind for jump change, you know? And I don't want to be the guy who's like, hey, can you invest this time that you're never going to get back into this project that may not actually take off for free? Like, I'm actually in the beginning phases of getting Intermind Legacy back up and running as a visual novel. But again, it's one of those things where until I get the money to get the art done, I'm not going to even do anything like that. But yeah, no, you were one of 2 or 3 people I had wrangled onto the project, and the other one was Dan York, who I have not spoke to since 2010. It's been like 11 years because he dropped off the internet, and I have no idea what happened to him. But yeah, I credit you though with being kind of one of the aestheticians. Is that the right word? Aestheticians, whatever. I can't word of that universe as a result, because a lot of the plot points and the story moments that have been conceptualized, like were created while I was listening to the music that you made for it. So a lot of the kind of the dark aesthetic and the just kind of the twisted nature of the characters and stuff like that, I credit you for that, so I appreciate you for that. It was then you became like I said before, a founding member of Pixcelation Entertainment, helping to establish the first incarnation of the PixcelCast. I say all this to ask, you seem to be this multifaceted talent. What has been your experience like doing a bunch of like seemingly disparate artistic endeavors, and then finally, settling on music?
I've hit walls on most things that aren't music. Just with writing, there are things I wanted to do, like with these audio dramas that I wanted to do that I just couldn't do without other people. But when it comes to music, I can do music solo. So that's been my experience. Everything else I've had to sort of rely on other people from the beginning, and I don't have to do that with music. There's gonna come a point with music eventually where I want to bring people in, but that'll be a choice.
Yeah,
and that's
it won't be a requirement, basically.
Yeah.
Speaking of your audio drama stuff, I remember thinking, the Solar 9 stuff that you were doing way back when was actually really, the Space Junkies and stuff like that was really interesting. Is there any chance we're gonna see that in another form? I know that you have a short, I guess what you would call it, maybe an EP or a short release on Bandcamp called Space Junkie. So I was wondering, are you incorporating that story into any of your music in any way, or?
Yes-ish. I actually in my next album, there's going to be a bit of some stuff I originally intended to have in Space Junkies, but eventually, when I have $1 million, when I have an endless budget,
oh hell yeah,
I'm gonna pour it into making Space Junkies.
Hell yeah. Because I remember that there's one time I think I did it twice. It was you wrote a short story set in that universe, and I did a narration for it and set it to the Last of Us music. And
I remember that.
I remember thinking, I was like, this is damn good stuff right here, and I want to see more from that. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, oh, I haven't seen any of that in years. What happened to that? And I wondered, I was like, I wonder if he did that. And I guess not. But I definitely want to see it. So whenever you get any kind of anything in that universe written, shoot it over to me, man. But
yeah, I mean, with the degree I'm going for, I have to write. So
right.
I've brought back some of that stuff in like my writing for university. So eventually there's gonna be something.
Yeah. And I'd like to say the same about all the various stories that I've got, but here we are 11 years after it first started, and I haven't gotten a damn thing done. But
it takes time.
yeah, it does. And it also requires that you somehow deal with writer's block in a healthy way, and I don't know how to do that. So the like I got the novel out. That was in 2013, and ever since I've been trying to do that again, and I've gotten close. I have gotten close, but it's just, you know.
I mean, a novel's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
Which is why it kind of switched over to a visual novel, because that's still a lot of work. It's probably even more work, I'd argue, but it's like I've always envisioned, whenever I imagine what form that story would take, it always was a visual medium, which is why I stopped doing the audio dramas, because it was like, you know, I can do these all day, you know, and I'm sure there would always be people to do voices and stuff like that, but until I'm able to get a visual element, I'm not going to be able to realize the vision that I have, you know. So that's kind of been my status as of now. But no, so it seems to me anyway. Oh wait, no, I wrote this before I knew that you were primarily a musician. Never mind. I'm not gonna rehash that, but I'm curious what was it that, like, and you may have mentioned this earlier, in which case forgive me, but what was it that kind of lit the spark for you that, like, made you realize this is what I want to do with my time?
Well, originally I guess originally when I was a wee lad, when I was a small little guy, I wanted to be an actor.
Oh, right.
That was way back. That was like in Zambia and South Africa. I wanted to be an actor, and then came to America and made friends here, and we formed a band. And at that point I was convinced that I was going to be in a rock and roll band that was as big as the Foo Fighters, and we were gonna, you know, take over the world, and it was gonna be awesome. Right after graduating, things kind of, just to abbreviate, things fell apart.
Right.
As they usually do, but the band was split up. I was basically alone, and I just needed something to do, and so I went back to writing, because I used to write poetry when I was in middle. Well, all throughout my life, I've been writing poetry and short stories and stuff. So I went back to that, and that turned into, well, I like anime, I like visual novels, and I discovered audio dramas, and I was like, hey, this is like an easier way of doing this. And so I did that, and it just didn't satisfy me. And I for all my audio drama stuff, I would produce my own music. So all the time I'm just doing this music, and I have this dream of being a rock and roll dude. And once we came to Oklahoma, I was just jumping all over the place, but this is where I am now in Oklahoma. Once we're in Oklahoma, I kind of just decided I'm gonna go back to that rock and roll thing, and we're just gonna do it for real. And that was my commitment, and that's when I did 12 Tone Starlight was the album, where that very first song called Sugar Manifesto was like all right, I'm doing this. Let's go and let's start again. And that's how I ended up coming back to music. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. So you basically you kept doing the music for the audio drama, so you were like, why not? You know, let's jump into this. I like that, because it's kind of one of those things where you had to kind of, tell me if I'm wrong, but you had to kind of look at what you were doing with your time and saying, okay, what part of this do I enjoy the most, and then just kind of isolating it, you know. And I think that's really something that I think a lot of us could benefit from. Because a lot I may be projecting here, but a lot of us, some of us, me, has a hard time figuring out what I want to do, and I basically start doing what I think I want to do, and I do it a lot, and then I get tired of it, and I decide, okay, I'm going to do something else, and then I do that a lot, and I get tired of it. It's like, can I just like something, please?
Yeah.
But no, So yeah, like, as I said before, I was listening to your music on Spotify, and I gotta say, I gotta give you props where they're due. It's amazing. Like the stuff it's just I was
Thank you.
vibing very heavily with it. I hate to admit that I've known you for so long, and I have not really listened to it until now, and I definitely want to change that because like I said, what I've heard is legitimately good.
Mm.
Um, but the question is, what if you had to pick like three of your biggest musical influences? Who would they be?
Whew, that's a tough one. Right now, this changes basically every single day. Right now, I'd say the name that comes to my mind is Steely Dan. Um, just because they have complexity and they mix a lot
Right,
of blues, jazz, and rock elements, just all in one place.
right.
Very comprehensive music. And then after Steely Dan, I like to say Elliott Smith, just because he's got that acoustic thing, but he also has rock, and his rock stuff is a little bit more complex. And David Bowie. Right now, I've been listening to a lot of David Bowie recently. Yeah.
I can see that for sure. One thing I was gonna ask you about is, okay, so I think the first song I heard from you was "Notes from the Underground,"
Mm.
and I was thinking, I was like, and I could be completely off base here, and you, by all means, you tell me if I'm off base. But I want to say I heard some like Pillows, maybe inspiration a little bit.
Yes, actually, the Pillows was one of, and that's another band that's near and dear to my heart. I had one of the very first rock songs that I really really loved was "I Think I Can." I think I can.
Hell
I think I can.
yes.
I listened to that on repeat for a very very long
That
time once I
song, that
heard it.
song feels
Yeah.
like the 10-year-old
Mm.
Pixelation's like wildest dreams. I swear.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, yeah, that could be a whole podcast on its own. Just
Oh
like
yeah.
Pillows, Fully Cooley. That show, like, I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but like every couple of years I'll go back to it, and I'm just like, it's just as good as the last time I watched it. And, I mean, it's wacky, it's wild, it's just oh. But that actually
Mm.
segues really neatly into the next question. And do you ever find yourself watching newer anime?
Newer anime?
Like stuff that's aired in
No,
the last couple of years, maybe?
not really. No,
Nah.
I've not. I kind of fell off of recent anime. Yeah,
Well, do you still watch it regularly, or watch like just anime in general regularly, or
I still watch I still watch a lot of anime movies. So
right?
like the older anime movies. Like let's see, Satoshi Kon stuff. I'll watch over and over
Oh
again.
hell yeah!
And anything. I don't want to say anything. Uh, most things Studio Ghibli.
Oh yeah,
I still like. Grave of the Fireflies. I watch um, more as a educational experience now,
yeah.
because it's just an interesting piece of history. And yeah, I watch stuff like that, like the Mamoru. Is it Mamoru Oshii? Is that how
Oh
you pronounce
yeah,
it?
yeah. I believe so.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
familiar.
Wolf's what's it called? Wolf Brigade, Jinro.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Anything that Yoko Kanno might have scored, I'll
Right.
watch. So
The
yeah.
no what so I had a thought, and the thought literally went in my head and it left. That's
Mm.
happening a lot lately, and I'm not sure why. Um. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I was gonna say, back in the good old days of Pixelation's entertainment. I remember thinking like one of the, like, in terms of writing, I will say that one of the people that kind of inspired me to grow as a writer is you, because you would put out these really really interesting in-depth pieces about these directors or about these series, and you would like kind of like psychoanalyze them, and it was really really awesome. And that actually, the reason I bring that up is because I remember specifically you did the Satoshi Kon Directors in Focus, I believe, and then I want to say you also did a.
It was a Hayao Miyazaki and a Hideaki Anno.
Oh yeah, I think you were gonna do a Satoshi Kon, and then it never didn't actually pan out. But yeah, no, and then oh my gosh, kind of diving back into the memories here. I think you did a really interesting. Was it a video on Anohana? Or was it a piece?
I think I did both. I did both. I did a video as well.
Yeah. And
that got copyright.
Yeah, so welcome to the team on that one. Yeah. Honestly, if you were ever down, I would love to collaborate with you and do something like that for old time's sake. But
that'd be fun.
We could discuss that a little off camera. But I do want to start doing more like cross collaborations with like other artists and stuff like that. So, but yeah. No, so what about okay? If you had to like, this may be kind of rehashing what you just said, but forgive me. If you had to pick like a greatest of all time anime, movie or series, what would you go for?
Whew. Really putting me on the spot here.
Yeah, you agreed to this.
All-time favorite. I would have to say, objectively speaking, Grave of the Fireflies is my all-time favorite anime movie.
I'm about to make some people cry, but I have not seen that yet, and I need to.
It's very, very good.
It's one of those things. I think it's on. It was one of those movies that joined HBO Max, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
I think Ghibli went on HBO Max and put up like most of their stuff. So I need to go on there and actually give it a watch. But there's a lot of movies.
It's emotional terrorism. It's really rough to watch, but I think it's a fairly important movie.
It's amazing how, for someone who calls himself an anime YouTuber, I don't really watch a lot of anime lately. I have been. I watch. I'm kind of keeping up with a handful of selections from the season, but not as much as I have in the past. And I need to just take a day, and maybe tomorrow I'll do that. Just take a day and just like go wild and just start watching, catching up on stuff. But especially if I'm gonna do these panels that I'm about to do at IkiCon. But so what about video games? Like, do you play any video games lately?
I just don't. I don't have a lot of time to play video games.
Yeah.
But recently, like the past week since the semester's over, I have had time to actually dig into some games, and I've been playing Nier Automata, as we
heck yes.
Earlier. Yeah, and that.
What are you thinking about it? Like you said earlier that you had reached ending A. Like, what's your thoughts so far?
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And this second playthrough, I don't think is it too much of a spoil at this point.
Nah. I mean, as long as you don't like explain like specifically what happens, I think you're good.
The hacking mini game with 9S is actually turning into a bit of fun. It's a lot more fun than I expected.
Yeah, that's one thing that I could not complete. I believe maybe I did. Actually, maybe I finally did. I can't remember because I platinumed that. That last year. I think it was last year that it was either the end of 2019 or it was the early 2020 that I played and platinumed Automata. And there is a bonus in like, it's not really a spoiler, but like there's a bonus mode just for hacking games, and it's like in the menu or some shit, and so difficult. Like, it's one of those things where like if you thought that the hacking games in the story were like, it's like they basically like they give you like 30 challenges in a row, and you have no. It's like, hey, you have to survive from 1 to 30 in one go, otherwise you are screwed. And I'm like, why?
Pain.
But just pain. Absolute pain. But no, it's a great game. So like I said earlier, it's the only video game that has made me actively sob. just because of the implication. That's all I'll say about it. But I'm actually, like I said before, I'm playing Replicant right now, and that's basically why I haven't been streaming, because I work, and I go work out, and then I work, and then after I'm done working, I jump into Replicant. I'm almost done, but it's one of those things where if you thought that Automata, since you're just now getting into the repeat, if you ever get the thought that Automata is repetitive, it's nothing compared to Replicant. They're like at least with Automata, they're like, okay, we're gonna make things a little bit different so that it's worth playing it a second time. But it's like I played the same damn game almost 4 complete times, and I'm like, I'm not tired of it yet, but if give me like 1 or 2 more times, then I would definitely be tired of it. So. but yeah, no. Something that like I have been streaming before I moved anyway. If you ever get a moment and you want a really well written indie game, I definitely recommend Omori. It is.
Is it about a hikikomori?
Kind of, yes. I mean, like it's there's a lot to it, and I don't want to say too much because a lot of the premise is it's rooted in spoiler territory. But
okay,
did you ever play Undertale?
I have not beaten it yet.
Okay.
But
so if you liked Undertale, you'll like Omori. It's basically kind of like the similar aesthetic. The idea, it's the 2D not platformer, 2D RPG style, JRPG style. The only difference is, like, with Omori, it's an actual RPG, so you're gonna level up, you're gonna fight enemies randomly, you're gonna it's basically Earthbound, more like Earthbound than Undertale is, really. But I was just blown away by it. It's so good. And then the art style is Omocat, if you ever heard of them.
Yeah,
Omocat, like, I had always heard of, like, I've already seen their style, here and there since like 2012, and then was it early this year? It was like in March, I think. And I saw somebody on Twitter was talking about Omori, and I was like, that looks familiar. What's that art style? And I looked at it, I was like, how did I not know they were making a game? And it's even more on me because apparently they'd been making the game for 6 years. And I had still never heard of it, and I'm like, I am under a rock. All right. So now we get to the questions where they're more kind of just like your personality based. We'll kind of figure out who you are as a person. Feel free to be as elaborate or as simple as you'd like with these. What would be your strategy for surviving the zombie apocalypse?
Surviving. What kind of zombies are they?
Well, because I want to get the most interesting answered Left 4 Dead zombies. Or actually, no. Or would it be better to say World War Z zombies? The ones that are fast.
The ones that are fast?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well, I would try to find the most secure place.
Yeah.
And just lock down.
Yeah. Well, so there's actually I have an ongoing kind of theory about this. Okay, and I'm pretty sure it would never work in a million years. But up here, kind of where Ikikon used to be held, there's this kind of enclosed area that kind of leads into a wooded area, and it's like a mall, right? It's kind of a small mall, like not like a mall, but like a strip center kind of thing. They got like Barnes & Noble, GameStop, Cheesecake Factory, and it's called the Arboretum. And in my head, I'm like, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to formulate some kind of perimeter fence around the Arboretum. And there's a hotel there. There's it's basically there's everything that you need to at least get by for a couple months. And I want to basically just create a perimeter around that area that we have space. You can get on top of the hotel and see if there's anybody trying to get in, any zombies trying to get in, or any humans. Because if we're talking about zombie apocalypse, there's going to be humans that are assholes and want to steal everything you own. So you have kind of like the vantage point. You have the ability to make food. You have, and it's like, all right, now probably wouldn't work. But again, that's why I'm glad that there's 99.999% chance that zombie apocalypse will never happen. But so
Yeah, if it does happen, I think as we've seen from our response to just a virus,
yeah,
I think we'd all die.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you ever wonder, like The Walking Dead, you know how like The Walking Dead, like they very much implied that like within the first couple of days they were already mowing down civilians with guns and shit like that. You know that would be how it is because like you hear, okay, so I heard this story recently, and I just have to bring this up because it's just it blows my mind. So for over a year now, we have been trying to get people to wear masks, right?
Yeah.
And there's been a small, loud subsection of humanity that's like, I ain't wearing no mask.
Oh, jeez. Yep.
But now they're actually floating the idea of wearing masks to protect themselves from the people who were vaccinated, because they've got it in their head that the vaccinated people are contagious.
I have some very some very wild opinions on that I will reserve.
It's one of those things where it's like, well, hey, you know, like whenever like the news was out today that, you know, you don't have to wear masks, and people were like, well, I'm still gonna wear it, and there was somebody like, well, what happens if people think that you're one of those people that's just wearing a mask to pretend? I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. Like, you know, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. But you know, what? Only thing I have to say about that: if these people want to wear masks to protect themselves from the vaccinated people, I say let them wear masks. I'm not even gonna tell them no. Just let them wear them.
So you know what? It's a little late, but all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I don't really care the reason. Well, I do care, but I don't care the reason for wearing a mask. As long as you're wearing one, you know, it's not like it's gonna be a different kind of mask, I guess. It's not like they're gonna put out like those. Like, I remember when they first started, people were wearing those mesh masks that don't protect anything. Oh, yeah. And people they cut like holes in it so they could eat with the mask. What's the point of that? You know, like. Anyway, next question.
All right.
If every time you snapped your fingers, you would instantly be transported to a random point in humanity's timeline, would you snap your fingers? And if so, how often?
As a African American male,
fair.
Absolutely not.
Fair.
I would not snap my finger under any conditions.
But see, what I'm thinking is like they don't say the past; they could say the future. And,
that's true. That's true.
I mean, but you have to kind of rely on the RNG gods for that one. And I don't know if I would. I totally understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah, but I mean, but just as a fun thing, I would like to. I would snap it once and see if I
where it goes.
Get back to medieval times. That'd be nice to see.
I mean, hell, you know, depending on where you go, you might be able to make some pretty wide sweeping changes. I mean, you know, knowing what we know now, you know, there's possibilities that someone could make some real changes for the better going back to a certain point in time, you know? So,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, you know, hindsight's 2020 with can't say that anymore. Hindsight's 2021 with all that shit. But, you know, it's like part of me is thinking like, you know, you go back to a certain point. I'm not going to say what point in humanity's timeline. You go back to a certain point. You can either kill the right person, or you can, you know, give them really good food and make them be like, oh, I'm an asshole. Never mind. I'm gonna go on an island forever. But anyway, that was a fun one. Now, have you ever heard of the 23 questions?
No. Is this not the same as James Lipton's questions that he asks?
No. This is I think it's a book by Chuck Klosterman. Basically, the long and short of it is it's 23 questions to ask someone before. It's like the full title is 23 questions to ask somebody before you know you can love them or something like that. It's like a bunch of, it's kind of like questions like we just did, but I introduced them because they're kind of lengthy and
All right.
but anyway, so okay, this one's a little darker, so give me a little bit of bear with me for a second. You have a brain tumor. Okay? There is no discomfort at the moment. This tumor would though there is no discomfort at the moment, this tumor would unquestionably kill you in 6 months. However, your life can and will be saved by an operation. The only downside is that there will be a brutal incision to your frontal lobe. After the surgery, you will be significantly less intelligent. You will still be a fully functioning adult, but you will be less logical, you will have a terrible memory, and you will have little ability to understand complex concepts or difficult ideas. The surgery is in 2 weeks. How do you spend the next 14 days?
I think what I'd do is probably document the most complex things that I can. So that'd be probably some musical stuff. Just make sure that I have it in the clearest terms, how I write my music, how I play my music.
Right.
Break it down into very simple steps. And then probably some writing. Just write as much as humanly possible. Document as much down.
I'm not a brain surgeon, but part of me would think that if you were the one explaining concepts, that maybe it would be different. Like for example, if you filmed yourself explaining the way you make music, that because it's coming from you, like your brain would kind of like recognize that maybe.
Maybe.
And maybe it would be easier for you to understand if it was coming from you. I don't know how that works. It might not work that way at all, but part of me is thinking that might be a thing, so I have no idea.
It might be like Memento, where it doesn't really help.
Yeah,
But
it could be but it's an interesting kind of conundrum because it's like obviously nobody wants to be in that situation, but if you were, what would you do? There's a lot of things like that. There's fun ones, there's dark ones, there's one that's like the first one I asked was to Kiba Walker in the first episode, and it was the one that's like, hey, you have a choice between you can own this turtle, but actually, you know what? Hold on, let me pull it up real fast because I'll just this one is one that I always go to as a fun little side thing. Let us assume there are 2 boxes on a table. In one box, there is a relatively normal turtle. In the other, Adolf Hitler's skull. You have to select one of these items for your home. If you select the turtle, you can't give it away, and you have to keep it alive for 2 years. If either of these parameters are not met, you will be fined $999 by the state. If you select Hitler's skull, you are required to display it in a semi-prominent location in your living room for the same amount of time, although you will be paid a stipend of $120 per month for doing so. Display of the skull must be apolitical. Which option do you select?
Must be. I'd take the skull.
Yeah? Because, I mean... Go ahead.
Because even though it would be apolitical, but I would definitely add some historical context to whose skull is.
Not only that, but that is a primo icebreaker. You have friends over, and they're like, "What's the skull?" Oh, let me tell you whose skull that is. And then you kind of go into be like, "Fuck him!" Like, who got the skull now? But,
that's a tough one though.
And then one more that I really enjoy, and one that I always laugh at is where's it at? Oh. Okay, yeah. Okay. You meet your soulmate. However, there is a catch. Every 3 years, someone will break both of your soulmate's collarbones with a crescent wrench. and there is only one way you can stop this from happening. You must swallow a pill that will make every song you hear for the rest of your life sound as if it is being performed by the band Alice in Chains. When you hear Creedence Clearwater Revival on the radio, it will sound to your ears like it's being played by Alice in Chains. If you see Radiohead live, every one of their tunes will sound like it's being covered by Alice in Chains. When you hear a commercial jingle on TV, it will sound like Alice in Chains. If you sing to yourself in the shower, your voice will sound like deceased Alice vocalist Lane Staley performing a cappella, but it will only sound this way to you. Would you swallow the pill?
Absolutely not.
Fuck her.
Absolutely not.
Or him, them. But yeah, that's either answer I think is fair. I mean, because it's like you gotta imagine, especially as a musician, are you gonna put yourself in the position where you're just like performing live and like everyone else hears like this vibe and nice rock and roll music, and then you are the only one who it's like you got to get over the feeling of why do I sound like this?
I'd be fine with just being single at that point. Just let it go.
Hey, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. 'Cause I mean, it's like every 3 years. It's like, I mean, I guess at that point you could just like collectively you could like still be with her, but like or you can be with them. But you can like prepare for it. Like drink a lot of milk. Yeah. Your bones will get stronger. I don't know if that's propaganda. It could be propaganda. I don't know. Kind of like they say when you're a kid, they say that you can't jump in the pool. You can't go swimming until like 30 minutes after you eat, and I was like, that's bullshit. Like you definitely can. Like I found that out like way later than I probably should have, and Well, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is there a reason?
I don't know. I think maybe the only thing I can think of, if I look at it in terms of logic for adults, like maybe it's a matter of like, you know what? Let's people it. Why do they say it's?
I have no idea.
Debunking the myth. Okay. See if this actually gives us any answers. No, you don't have to wait 30 minutes or more to swim after you've eaten. Swimming right after you've had something to eat isn't dangerous at all. The concern was that because digestion diverts some of your blood flow from your muscles to your stomach, swimming might somehow inhibit the necessary blood flow to the stomach, causing cramps so severe that you could drown. So that makes sense. I mean, it's not just a selfish thing like, hey, don't do this because I said so. It's like, there's actually a reason for it, and I'm like, okay. Well, I appreciate you for sitting down and talking with me, man. I know that it hasn't been super eventful, and I asked you to forgive me for that one.
I know it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. We honestly we should do this again, but next time let's like I'm trying to think of like because I don't know, do you like stay up to date with like? Because I know you say you don't like play a lot of games, watching a lot of it. Do you like you still have like your ear to the ground with some of those new current events that go on and stuff like that, or?
Not as much, but I still watch a lot of Twitch. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Reason I ask is because like maybe next time we could bring you on and like we could just do a traditional what's going on podcast, like a
that'd be fun.
Kind of like old times, because I'm actually thinking about oh, it was interesting promoting. Oh yeah, well yeah, I definitely need to be promoting it more. I need to be streaming more in general. I think I will be streaming more after I'm done with the Nier, but yeah, no, I'm actually thinking about because I'm actually only doing after this episode. There's only 2 more episodes of the PixcelCast. And then I'm gonna take a 6-month hiatus and come back in January with more, maybe. I want to make this a seasonal thing, and then I want to launch like an actual podcast called Talking with Pixels. And that'll be more like a sit down. Hey, what's going on? This is what's happening in the world, kind of thing. Kind of like old times, So thank you, Bannister. I'll give you the floor to promote yourself, plug yourself, do whatever you'd like for a little bit, and by all means.
Oh, I'm Bannister Chaava. You can see my name on screen there. As I said before, I write music, and you can find me on Instagram at Not Bannister. I am also, speaking of podcasts, on I've been doing a podcast with my friend. My friend's running. His name is Toby. It's called Right Night. Right spelled normally, and then night spelled Nite, and that's sort of a it's a writing podcast, but it's also a talking podcast. So
So it's
it's
right
a lot
as
of
like
fun.
like WRIT.
Yes,
Oh,
and then night as in Nite. So
okay.
right normal and then night Nite.
Do y'all do
Uh,
writing tips and stuff like that, or
we do writing prompts.
okay?
So somebody, the guest or somebody will be there being interviewed, or there'll be some discussion, and then from that discussion we'll pick a prompt, and then from that prompt we'll send it. We'll send it in a bunch of different directions, and we'll each write something. We'll come together and read it. And Toby does all this stuff in post, where he adds some music to it. Most of the music is stuff that I've written, because just like with you, Toby and I have been collaborating since we were in high school, not
Right.
middle school, since high school. So we've been uh, we've been we've been chums for a very long time. So it's a fun project. But that's something else that I do. Other than that, I'm just working on my album and doing stuff on Instagram and YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make an effort to check out the writing podcast. That sounds really interesting. Especially whenever I'm trying to get into the mood to write stuff. Well, in that case, let me go ahead and close things out. I want to thank everybody for watching. Whether you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, I appreciate your attention, your feedback. If you would like to leave comments or anything like that, we will be back in 2 weeks with Brian Beacock, who will be calling in for the show, and that should be really fun. And then the last episode will be with Jessica Cavillo. So be sure to be there, and that's going to be in a month. So on I think it's on June 10th, I want to say. I could be completely off on that. I'm not looking at the schedule. So thank you again, Bannister, for taking the time to sit down with me and catch up. And it's been an honor and a privilege. But in the meantime, this has been Pixcelation, reminding every single one of you to stay pixelated, and I'll see you next time.